All right, this is our food commodity presentation. Our topic is rice. My name is Cole.
I'm Caden.
I'm Aiden.
I'm Marin.
I'm Ella.
So, rice is a staple food for over 3.5 billion people, providing essential carbohydrates, proteins, and micronutrients. It's prepared in many ways depending on the culture and the variety of rice used. But the main types of rice consumed as food are white rice, brown rice, and sticky rice. It's also used to make beverages such as rice wine and rice milk, along with fermented foods such as miso and rice vinegar. Rice straw has long been utilized for weaving, creating essential items such as hats, sandals, and baskets. Rice straw and bran also serve as common feed sources for livestock, providing an accessible and sustainable option for farmers. Furthermore, rice husks and straw are valuable in fuel and energy production as they can be burned for biofuel, contributing to renewable energy solutions. Rice has also played a significant role in traditional medicine systems such as Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. And in many cultures, rice is considered a healing grain, with rice water often used to soothe digestion and hydrate the body. Additionally, rice flour has been widely applied in skincare, known for its ability to reduce inflammation and improve complexion. While there's no exact origin and date of rice being used by humans, there are estimates. The oldest archaeological evidence of rice being used by humans points to it originating in the middle and lower Yangtze River Valley region of China, dating back to 11,000 to 12,000 BC. Other sources believe rice to be even older, however. For instance, there were rice grains discovered at an excavation site in South Korea in 2003, and the carbon dating showed the rice grains to be around 15,000 years old. And the first written account of rice was found in a record on rice planting authorized by a Chinese emperor in 2800 BC.
Over 20 wild species of rice. Oryzia sativa was the first and most important domesticated rice, which originated from early Asia. The second most important strand of rice was going to be Oryzia glaberrima, and that originated in West Africa. The wild varieties that these species come from are Oryzia rufopogon and Oryzia bartii. Rice is very embedded in many cultures, so it's hard to tell where it came from. A lot of cultures tend to claim rice as their own because of how important it is and how popular it is. And because of its importance and greatness, many cultures want to claim that as their own discovery. More modern strains are combined to allow for disease resistance and climate adaptability. So as mentioned previously, rice originated 10,000 years ago. It became a staple due to its ability to keep in various weather conditions and its nutritional value. So many cultures wanted to use rice because of how long kept you could have it and how you can store it. And because of the Silk Road that brought rice to all parts of the Eastern Hemisphere, it was very important because unlike many other foods, it didn't have to spoil, and it was easily transported. And then European colonization around the 15th century brought rice to the Americas, both North and South America. So that includes, the like Brazil area and as well as North America. Modern agendas change the way rice is used. So different styles of rice farming are going to be changed because of sustainability. And the Green Revolution also impacted the way that rice was grown. And also genetic modification allows rice to be more sustainable, and it also allows for pest resistance and to even keep better for travel. And also the rice strain that's used today is actually still the original Oryzia sativa, which was founded in Asia. It's just been modified to have different genetic resistances.
So, in terms of how rice is currently grown, the environmental implications of rice cultivation are that it functions as a source of greenhouse gases. This is primarily methane, but also nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide. Rice cultivation accounts for 10% of global methane emissions and about a quarter to 1/3 of Southeast Asian methane emissions. This is due to the microorganisms that reside in the flooded environments that rice is grown in and decompose plant matter, which is mostly rice straw residue, to emit methane. It also becomes a source of nitrous oxide when there is a poor absorption of nitrogen-based fertilizers. This climate change impact also impacts the cultivation of rice itself, as rising temperatures and the increasing frequency and intensity of droughts and storms complicate the process and threaten the livelihoods of farmers. As it was hard to find reliable information about how rice is regulated in Southeast Asia, we will look at how the food is regulated in the US and the inspection standards for grown rice in the States. It is governed mostly by the Department of Agriculture, which has certain criteria that need to be assessed for seed quantity and heat damage, physical damage to the kernels, chalkiness, color, and mill quality, all before it is distributed to the public. This inspection process is carried out through the growing, harvesting, drying, storage, milling, and ultimately market distribution. In accordance with the US Department of Agriculture standards, most, if not all, of domestically distributed rice, so grown and distributed in the US, consists of whole, undamaged kernels, while the rest that is either doesn't meet standards or is broken is either exported or used in other products. Food safety for domestic rice crops and for imported rice is carried out by the Food and Drug Administration and the Environmental Protection Agency, and they look out for pesticide residue and unsafe levels of arsenic content in the rice. Looking back at Southeast Asia, rice has had a long-standing cultural, social, and economic significance in the region. Its domestication shaped early civilizations and how they established their social classes and state systems, as well as serving as the principal food source and a large focus of the region's labor and economy. Its cultural significance still remains as well, as it's common for peoples throughout Southeast Asia to have varied rituals and ceremonies related to the cultivation and the harvest of rice. For the Toraja people of Indonesia, the crop is blown on by farmers to impart life into the crop. Dancers carry out dance rituals with community members dressed in gold to symbolize a ripe harvest. Granaries are made to resemble homes, and the buildings are oriented to the northeast, which is a direction that is culturally associated with life being life-giving, as well as any funeral-related garb or objects being banned near rice fields. In addition, the Thai peoples of Southeast Asia share a religiously significant image of a figure they call Mi Khao, or the Mother of Rice. To commemorate this religious figure, a certain portion of the seeds that are to be planted are considered to be the children of the rice mother and are kept in a separate sacred location of the home, and they are the first of the crop to be planted to try and ensure a bountiful harvest.
All right, so now for the integration of sustainable practices, I'm going to talk about the benefits of climate-friendly rice farming and how it helps to conserve water, improve water quality, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So to start with water conservation, as we have talked about earlier in this presentation, traditional rice farming requires continuous flooding, but a more sustainable practice is to use alternate wetting and drying, or AWD, and furrow irrigation, FIR. So AWD involves periodically allowing the field to dry out before re-irrigating, and it is a cycle of flooding phases and drying phases where the water naturally recedes until the water table reaches a specific level. But then before the plants can experience any stress, water is reapplied. This technique captures more rainfall, which reduces aquifer depletion. And because the field is not kept continuously wet, it also lowers methane emissions. And the next, FIR uses shallow trenches to deliver water rather than maintaining a continuously flooded field. And it involves semi-raised rows where water is applied to the furrows between each row. And this allows the soil to absorb moisture without completely submerging the plants. And this also allows for no-till or minimum till farming. So together, these two methods can reduce irrigation needs by up to 50%, which means that a 40-acre field can save around 8 million gallons of water. A second aspect of sustainable rice farming is protecting the water quality of nearby bodies of water. For example, the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico has been caused by fertilizer and chemical runoff from farms along the Mississippi River. So instead of contributing to this issue, rice farmers can use surface water like streams and rainfall rather than groundwater to reduce their runoff. And it's also important to consider the grade or slope of the rice fields because this can significantly impact the contamination of aquifers with excess nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium seeping back into the groundwater. An example of a sustainable farm is the Isbell family farm in Arkansas, which has been the first U.S. farm to successfully grow Yamada Nishiki rice, which is a prized variety used for making sake. To improve their sustainability, they reshaped their fields and implemented zero grade leveling to reduce runoff. And this practice cut their water use by 30%, but then they even went further and are saving an additional 20% through alternate wetting and drying and furrow irrigation practices.
So to finish up, I'm going to talk a little bit about the future of rice and the effect of climate change on rice cultivation. As we know, rice grows best in warm and wet climates. However, with climate change and effects like droughts, floods, sea level rise, and extreme temperatures, the crops are being devastated each year. For example, during severe drought years, rice yields have decreased by 17 to 40% in some areas. And while rice will not go extinct, it is projected that climate change could drive a 40% decline in rice production by 2100 if these trends continue. The equatorial regions will experience the most significant decline in suitability for rice because of extreme temperatures and droughts. And as a result, rice cultivation will shift to more northern and temperate regions all over the world. To combat the impacts of climate change on rice, scientists are working on breeding rice varieties that can withstand climate shocks and thrive in a variety of environments. For instance, rice genetics are being adapted for flooding with breakthroughs like the discovery of the sub-1 gene in rice, which holds resistance for the crop to being submerged in water for up to 14 days. Another approach is sustainable rice intensification, or SRI, which is a method that improves rice yields while using less water and avoiding needing to flood fields, and also while focusing on soil health. SRI has been mechanized with support from countries like India and Vietnam, but was developed in Madagascar, and it's significantly boosted yields, reduced emissions, and improved the livelihoods of farmers also, which is really important. The map below shows the adoption of SRI techniques in various regions, with the darker green areas representing the most established practices and government support, and the lighter green areas indicating smaller scale testing. While these solutions are crucial, the best way to reduce the risk of rice supply and overall food supply is to implement more global policies that address greenhouse gas emissions.